The Fed raised the federal funds rate 25 basis points today. That is 0.25% or 25 bips if you got your head squarely up your ass like a lot of these finance people do. We're going to dive into all of the repercussions of that. We're going to get into Powell's presser, which was about 20 minutes too long, in my opinion. Before we start it up, please hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. We're guys who love following the markets, looking at the macro, trying to figure out what the best plays are. So do your own research when it comes to any buying or selling decisions. Kevin, the writing was on the wall. There's going to be 25 basis points. Jim Cramer tweeted and then deleted his thoughts that they were going to pivot today, which was just unbelievable that he would even exercise that idea and put it out into the universe. I mean, Jesus H. The 25 basis points, we've known this for weeks now. It has been clear as day. At this point, here's the thing that pisses me off about a lot of the people. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I've learned over time to just take them at their word. And so many people out there are trying to just be edgy or get in front of everything and will just say the most ridiculous shit. Ace, how we doing? Just for the sake of trying to be different, when right now, that is just so unnecessary. The Fed has told us over and over again what they were going to do. Verbatim, Powell said today exactly what he said in previous ones, although they removed the line about necessary ones in the future, but they're still data dependent. The whole thing, we've known forever that it's going to continue to be data dependent. If you've been paying attention, you've been listening to what they said, it was very clear. I've been talking nonstop since we started. I'm going to let you talk for a second here.
Yeah, absolutely. Dude pretty much tells us the same thing every single time. And again, they're data dependent. I was pretty excited to hear the fact that he said that this battle to bring it down to 2% is going to be a little bit tougher. And honestly, that's what we've been talking about. It was pretty easy to bring inflation down from almost nearly 10%, 9.1% back in September.
Yeah, 9 to 5 was not that tough, but
no. But now when you're throwing 75s and 50s out like fucking Halloween candy, like we always say, but it's this is a different battle, and I'm grateful that he brought that up because a lot of people don't really expect that. They just said, well, it's came down so much, it's going to keep going down. No, it's not. This is completely different. We're throwing out 25 is because we got to make sure that we don't do too little, but at the same time, we can't do too much. And that's what Powell's doing. He's walking a tightrope right now, just trying to make sure that, he believes that we're going to get a small, mild recession, but he doesn't want to, break anything too bad. Sorry, Powell, I disagree with your assessment there, but I think that we're going to just see absolute, slow bleed till we get to that point. And people who are getting too excited about a pivot, like Jim Cramer, it's like, go fuck yourself. Like Jim Cramer, I'm not telling other people to go fuck yourself, but pretty much it's like, dude, what are you doing? There is no way that they were going to pivot today. This is not an episode of Friends.
That was that's a wish in one hand, shit in the other situation. And we know that. We've known that for weeks. There's a reason on this show that we are, in this current market cycle, frequently discussing what the update is on the probability of the funds rate, because that is dictating everything in the market. And based on what Powell said today, I think we can start to not ignore, but put very little emphasis on any job-related numbers. The tone that he struck today was very much like, we could see a world where inflation goes down, but unemployment doesn't have to go up because of how many jobs there are out there. And I really think that Friday, we got the unemployment number. I don't think it matters as much as previous unemployment reports do based on what he said today. It's purely inflation related. So next week with the CPI and the PPI, that is what's going to dictate pretty much everything. We can determine their next moves based off of, because they meet again in June and July. And so we can pretty accurately determine what they're going to do based off of CPI, PPI, and PCE. And unless there are other bank failures, I think they're going to want to throwing out the idea of them tightening again is a really big mistake, because there could absolutely be more rate hikes. It's all dependent on the data, like they've said ad nauseum. Also, I want to take a second. Why did that presser have to take 50 minutes? Where do these people get these questions from? So many questions that they directed to Powell were not something that Powell was ever going to answer. I've been paying it, like, you and I are not experts in this. We've been, I watch Powell's pressers like every time, and even I knew that there are a lot of things where he's going to be like, yeah, that's not my area, so I'm not going to talk about that. Right. So that was just one thing that really got under my skin was like, why are we wasting so much time on this? Anyway, let's get back to the important stuff. We got the 25. We're going to be there for a while. I don't see it coming down anytime soon. There is, a little bit, the fears I think are starting to subside. And this is when capitulation happens, in my opinion, whenever we see the next pullback, because I don't think it's over. I think maybe they've learned, maybe the Fed has learned from previous, from the previous banking crisis, but I don't for one goddamn second think that the people who are out there greedy as hell have learned from that experience, because there's still a lot of bad decisions being made that are going to impact the economy that could lead to another crash. We've seen repeatedly that the worst doesn't happen until after the Fed pivots, right? Like we've seen it in, the dot-com bubble, in the financial crisis. It wasn't until after the pivot takes place that the market falls off a cliff. And that's usually when everyone is like in disbelief that it happened again. So not saying for anyone to panic, not telling you to sell all your stuff, but just like be aware of what has happened in the past and use that to inform your decisions, not completely dictate them.
Yeah, 100%. And you made a great point earlier how, most of this employment data doesn't really matter anymore. I am in the belief that it doesn't either. Like, I don't see this, impacting the markets. I think the markets are going to do exactly what the markets are going to do, whether like we're pricing in everything at this point, right? And it gets to a point where you're being priced into the markets by market makers, by people who have tons of, supply that are ready to just drop it on the markets, right? And that's why I keep saying that when you least expect it, it's going to happen. And right now the market is, maybe a little bit red. Let's see. Yeah, this is kind of like a nothing day. Like
it's very flat today. Like I was expecting volatility today.
Oh, same.
We saw a little bit of volatility in crypto, but not that much. Like there was a candle up, and his tone, it sounded pretty neutral today. It didn't sound overly dovish. It didn't sound overly hawkish. It sounded like vanilla ice cream, which is kind of what Powell is. Like you said, they're pricing in everything. Well, they at this point we're pricing in whether or not Powell has a good bowel movement in the morning. Like everything is getting priced in. It's fucking ridiculous.
He's got to be eating those plums. That's the only way we're gonna get any reaction out of him. But yeah, it's a really stupid place in the market right now. And stupidity is never a good thing when it comes to money, because that's when you start to see a bunch of shit just go hit the fan. And I expected just a little bit more volatility. I saw more volatility in the DXY than I think I saw in the entire market, which is pretty stupid. But again, it's absolutely just a weird this is a weird meeting. And
it's weird that the DXY is down but the VIX is up. That's a weird one to me. I feel like that's not normally how we see it working. I feel like normally if we see the DXY down, it's because people are less concerned about volatility. So I'm not really sure what to make of that at the moment.
Yeah, it's like it just feels like there's something going on right now to the point where the market is either frozen, they're afraid to make a move right now, or we're just like waiting for a time to pull the rug. Like I do think that there is a chance that we could see a little bit of a push up, but that could be like absolutely short-lived, because everyone's expecting a move, and the move everyone was expecting was to be today. And thus far, nothing. Maybe it comes after the close today. I don't know. I'm not going to time the markets, but I know that there is going to be some volatility coming soon. It's just a matter of like, what is it going to be? Is it going to be, another bank failure? And it seems like this year, most of the negative price action we've gotten is from failures. It's from something that is completely out of the, we can't price in. And the next thing you know, it just absolutely just tanks the market. Like when Silicon Valley dropped, that was a $5,000, $6,000 drop. And then it shot back up 5,000 like the next 2 days. So, that's where we saw most of the volatility. I don't think we're going to get any from this data. And, we got PCE and CPI next week. Again, unless we get like an inflation spike, I don't think that even that's going to make the markets move too much. It's just such a bad, like boring time in terms of like data.
I disagree. I think if we see a hot CPI reading next Wednesday, that's going to spook the market for sure.
No, as I said.
I'm not a day. Oh, I thought you said that nothing could. I thought you said nothing. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
Only if we got a spike, that would be the only thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I heard you wrong there. Yeah, because we have, like I said, PCI next Wednesday, or a CPI, and then PPI on Thursday. So that will move the market. I think, you could potentially go long over the next like week or so. Maybe if I was trading this right now, I wouldn't be afraid of going long into the next CPI print, but I'd be very afraid of holding that position into the reading. Like I'd probably close that out before the end of the markets on Tuesday. But I don't trade, so take my advice for what it's worth, which is probably next to nothing. So there's that. But yeah, it's going to be dependent on that. If we see a cool CPI print, then watch out, because the markets could absolutely rip with the expectation that they're going to pause and maybe they'll pivot. Like there was, I wouldn't say that he was hawkish or dovish, but I felt like an extra note of concern from Powell as it relates to how the interest rates are impacting consumers. And which is like, that's a big part of his job, is trying to, control prices, control employment. So I did hear that extra tone of concern from him around how these, consistent interest rates are hurting people financially, it's good to hear that. So for that reason, I could see him being a little bit more willing to pivot sooner than, because a lot of people before the banking crisis, the expectation was we would hike through Q1 into Q2 and they would pause through the end of the year. But his concern today kind of makes me think that they would be willing to pivot sooner than the end of the year.
Yeah, and then again, he's not counting out the fact that they might not even cut rates this year. That's the other thing too. But it's this weird like ambivalence that we're kind of seeing, but it's all data dependent too. That's how, I mean, Powell's not going to change that. But I agree. I think that there is some type of like possibility that plays out. But again, it's like I feel like he was concerned about a lot of things today, and that being one of them. And the other thing that really struck me was the debt ceiling. Like he has no power over any of that. That's absolutely not his department. That's something that Congress has to take care of. They're the only ones that could raise the debt ceiling. But he said more than I thought he was going to say for the first few questions. I was like, okay, I guess he's answering the questions based on he doesn't want to get to that position, that Congress probably should take care of that sooner than later. But I thought that was pretty interesting, because he's always like tight-lipped, like that's Congress's deal, that's not my bullshit. I got too much stuff to deal with.
Yeah, I think he's worried about it because like he feels they've dealt with so much with having to like, worry about the banks and how interest rates would impact that. And I feel like he's right now just pissed at Congress. Like, you guys are really going to make my job even harder by not getting this shit done. Like, it seemed like Powell was just like, I would love to like have a whiskey with Jerome Powell sometime and be like, so can you just tell me how you really feel about these people? And just like get him to unload on how he really feels about Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi and just all the suits in Washington who don't really know anything about economics but want to tell him how to do his job. Like, I would love to get unfiltered, uncensored Jerome Powell. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like, the way he was speaking today, I'm like, yeah, maybe he's not that bad of a guy. But again, I have no false idols. This guy might be an absolute destroy the American economy in like 6 months. So I have no idea. But definitely, I can tell there's a little bit of sass like being thrown at Congress for putting him in this predicament. Again, he's like, I don't want to be answering these questions. I don't even want to be up here right now. This inflation is too damn high. I didn't do this shit.
Yeah.
But here he is.
Yep, got to deal with it. So it's looking like the markets are closing in 26 minutes. Everything, we saw a little bit of a pop back up, but things are starting to move back down now. Actually, we just saw the big red candle on the Dow, NASDAQ, and SPY. So a lot of downward pressure at the moment. I think people are kind of coming to the realization that this was not the bullish outcome they were hoping for. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I don't even know, man. Like, I want to have a good like thesis on what's going to happen next, but I don't think anybody does. I think we're all just kind of sitting here, like just hoping that shit gets resolved.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the charts. Like, obviously, I always look at Bitcoin, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is the wave 2, and then we're going to wave 3. But oh no, but maybe this is the correction wave. Then we go into it. So it's really we need to see what plays out over the next few days or next hour, few hours. Honestly, like I actually am really interested in seeing how it closes tonight, because that's probably going to give us a better indication of where this market's going to move. Because if it's a move to the downside, it's going to be a bad move to the downside. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be most likely a 5-wave move, and this will be wave 3. Pretty big move to the downside. But if this is still, we got a little bit left to go, 29.5, 30K around there, then, obviously markets are going to rally, but that could be just liquidating all the people who shorted too late. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen. I have no idea. I'm waiting for something, because I'm bored. I'm not bored looking at charts, but I'm like, all right, give me some life. Give me something to do tonight. I want to go home and just see some volatility in the markets, because right now, not really seeing it.
I mean, if you look at Bitcoin alone, we are at the same level that we were at April 3rd. So it's been a month, and like we've had a little bit of a move up, we had a move back down, but we're pretty much exactly where we were a month ago. And so it has been pretty boring. And the volatility has to return eventually. Like, it can't be all sunshine and rainbows. So I'm just ready to, if we do have another big move to the downside, let's just get it over with. Let's just get the damn thing over with.
It's coming. And again, I just talked about this back when we put this head in at 31,000 back in the middle of April. I thought that we were going to come down in a similar pattern as we were over here. Kind of doing that right now. You know what I mean? We're just, trading within these ranges. We're a little bit higher up here, but then again, that might have just been liquidating some positions. But again, this looks like a head and shoulders to me up here. And then if that's true, then we're going to obviously come down. But again, we're looking at Bitcoin. We're seeing dominance kind of dropping. Actually, as soon as I say it pushed up a point. Nice. But yeah, I'm looking at this, and I think that there's just a little bit left, man. I think that there's just going to be one more push to liquidate. There was tons of liquidation levels, tons of positions that were to be liquidated around that 29.5, 30K level. So fat wick straight up, then just send it straight down. Again, I'm not telling you that's what's going to happen. That's what I'm anticipating, but it's just like, give me something to work with so I can, gauge where the next move is. Obviously, we have our level of support and resistance and stuff like that. We can talk about that more at length tomorrow. But yeah, I want something to happen at this point. It's been it was kind of fun in the middle of April, but right now it's kind of like, okay, anticlimactic. We got the presser, we got the rate hike. What's next? We got data next week, sure, but we're going into the weekend, and we saw tons of supply being pushed onto these exchanges. We saw some stocks put in all-time highs like 2 days ago. So it gets to a point where it's like, all right, we got to see some type of correction. We've been fucking shooting up straight for 4 months, and look at the volumes right now. Volumes are smaller than Stuart Little's dick right now. Like, that's so little right there. I don't see shit on this chart.
Not like, that is absurd. How far back does that go? Like, what was the last decent volume day for Bitcoin? It's been a while.
Let's go to here. It's March 20.
Well, even go a little bit further to the right as well. Like, before it really. No, I'm sorry. Like, looking at the screen, but like, if you look at some of the volume there.
Let's go to the weekly. It might be a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the volumes dropped off significantly, and we see from freaking June till, let's say, March. That's where the volumes were. It's absolutely dead right now. And that's, it's funny because this is where we were starting to see the price push up extremely high, right? And we got to this point where the prices are pushed up, but there's no volume behind it. And if we are in a bullish market, I would anticipate those to be going up with the price action, but it's not. That's bearish divergence.
Will you pull up ETH real quick?
Yeah, right here. Oh man, I gotta fix these charts. I'm like, these look like
Jesus.
This looks like cave scrawlings. I don't even know what that means. But yeah, here's ETH. This is it looks like we got that bearish engulfing candle, and then look, it's been dead for the past 2 weeks. If we look at ETH, the price, it's like, look at that. That's like nothing. If we look at the daily, sideways trading. I mean, the volumes are okay-ish, I guess, but in the grand scheme of everything that we were looking at on the weekly.
Honestly, the only reason I think the volumes are okay-ish is because of all the meme coins that are being traded right now.
That's true. Are they are they like ERC20 tokens?
Yeah, they're all on Ethereum, and that's why ETH gas has been stupid high lately. Like,
yeah, that's true. I've seen it high.
It's been crazy. Like, transaction fees are insane. Like $25, $30, $40 to like, I'm not even trying to trade these things. I'm trying to do other shit. And like, I can't, I'm like, I don't want to pay $40 for this. It's just ridiculous.
I sent like
so
2.5K the other night from to just my futures contracts, and I was like $8. I'm like, 2 months ago the shit was like $1.75, like $3 at most. Insane. But again, $8, I don't, it's nothing, but still
whatever.
It's up.
Yeah, it's up a lot, and yeah, yep, 100%. It's if it wasn't for the meme coins, I think the ETH volume would be just as bad as Bitcoin. Like,
100%.
Right now, we have retail. I mean, I'm not going to call them retail. We have gamblers who are playing around with meme coins, and that is what is buoying the volume for ETH. But as soon as the cracks start to form there and people get bored with the meme coins, or we see a big, someone decides to just pull the rug out from under ETH, I think that could kill the volume on a lot of those as well. I'm not a meme coin expert. I'm not involved with them really in any way because it just feels like a game of hot potato. But just give us some time, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to pull up one more chart. I really don't have much to get into today. I think we did a pretty good job. But I want to look at this Binance chart because, again, we were seeing negative funding going into this entire thing, right? And I was screaming with my shirt off on the rooftop saying, this is bullshit, extremely how much everyone's shorting Binance. But I was looking at this pattern. This is called an ascending wedge. This is a bad pattern to be trading in, man. That is 100% something that usually breaks to the downside. And we're getting extremely close up here. I mean, this is on the weekly too. So this is a big macro chart. And one thing that Binance is doing right now is they're doing that staking, and they're adding new coins every week, right? So you're staking BNB and True USD to farm, what is it, SUI? I don't know how to pronounce it, SUI. But
SUI,
yeah, SUI. Farm
that took a fat dump too.
Well, that's the thing, man. You're locking up BNB. So obviously they have 70 to 80% of it. You're locking up TUSD. A ton of TUSD got burned today too, without anyone really noticing. But you're locking up liquidity. And if they keep putting out these, staking mechanisms, they have tons of incentive to be selling this shit. I mean, even their own coin, Binance, obviously they're going to need some money, liquidity, if they know that the market's going to be taking a leg. So if you could lock up other people's coins and give them a coin that's going to dump, that's probably not going to be worth anything till the beginning of the next bull run, then guess what? Then they have a pretty good position to get out of. And again, this is something on the you're seeing just trading right here. I think that you might get one little scam pump above it, and then just next thing you know, you're gonna try and find some support. And let me remind everybody about this one. This is the month. I'm gonna look at the monthly chart for this because it's pretty bad. Look at how much of a gap there is from here to here. This is $213 to like $45. This thing pumped all the way up to $215 in 1 month back in February of 2021, and if you lose this level right here, this 213, or you lose this, this midway one, which is 150, mainly if you lose this 215, there's a good chance that if you close below that, you're going to come down to at least 45. That doesn't have to happen. Binance doesn't have to collapse, but there's definitely something that you should be keeping an eye on because this could potentially be absolutely catastrophic. And that pattern no one is talking about. No one's talking about Binance right now. I think everyone should be, but again, maybe I'm just the crazy guy.
Based off of this emoji, Ace is definitely keeping an eye on it. So will you pull up the chart for Apple as well? They report earnings tomorrow. There's some expectation that those earnings should come in on the weaker side, below estimates. And I'm interested to see like where they're at for volume, for their SRSI, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like it's just range bound, like looking at this, we're putting in yeah, looks like the trend is lower, but this might be a weirder trend. Yeah, I think this looks like a megaphone pattern almost, right? Yeah, it looks like a megaphone pattern to me. I might have to bring that down here. Yeah, it's almost parallel, but it's not. It looks like it's just trading one of these. And again, if it is even in a parallel channel, maybe it is moving in one. We have to keep in mind that we're at the top of where this resistance is, so there's a good chance that we could see some negative price action because we've hit our heads here, hit our heads here.
It looks like it's pretty overbought. Is that am I reading that right? That's pretty overbought as well.
Yeah, it's coming down from overbought, but this is on the daily. If we look at the weekly, we're extremely overbought.
Very overbought. Okay.
Oh, and here's another thing that's kind of dangerous. 125. Here's the 200 EMA. So if this comes down to the bottom of this trend line, that's 119. Over, I don't know, maybe the next 10 to 20 weeks, that 50 is going to cross that 200. So that's not going to be good. That's going to be pretty bad for Apple, most likely. Let's see what the COVID low is. COVID low was $53. You got some support right down here around 82. So there's definitely some room to move to the downside. I think that hitting our head right here, this is probably, I'm not going to say this is the top of where it currently is, but it definitely is due for a correction to the downside. And again, volumes look like they are coming down slightly. So we got a little bit of a bearish divergence, but I think the resistance is the key here. So just something that I'm seeing. Doesn't have to be as bad as, $54, but who knows? Who knows at this point? I think everything is bullshit.
I know Apple's a blue chip and no one wants to short Apple, but I kind of want to short Apple right here.
Hey, man, I was telling everybody to short at 213, not financial advice for Tesla, but
Tesla.
But
yeah, I was going to say Apple hasn't gotten. I mean, Apple's had a good year. Like, they haven't gone up anything crazy like Nvidia or Apple or Meta, but they've still had a good. They started the year. Where were they? Down around like a 125. So they've had a nice pop this year. And I think that, a poor Q1 earnings report, poor future guidance, the fact that they are very much overbought at the moment, near the top of that parallel channel. That's a crazy number.
I know
that's
man.
a crazy number.
That's a lot of liquidity there. But again, I think that they didn't do too well in Q1. That's my personal opinion. I don't think they did. They probably didn't do that well. I think sales were down way under they had anticipated, or that was reported a few weeks ago. I saw something like that. But
I mean, we're starting to see consumer spending come down. Wage growth is not as strong as as we need it to be. People are cutting back on spending right now, and that is going to impact a high-end brand like Apple. Like, I'm not saying that people are going to switch from their iPhones to a Samsung, but they're probably not going to upgrade as consistently. What'd you say?
Yep, Ace is 100% right. I'm saying that all this money was just everyone, I guess, was just buying tons of shit when they got their stimulus. But and then obviously once the market starts moving, people want to buy in because they're afraid of missing out. And now we're at a point where there's no liquidity, except there's 2.65 trillion in market cap for Apple. And, the COVID low seems like pretty good level of support because if it began with COVID, it most likely will end with COVID. I will say that every single time we're on this show. But yeah, I definitely think that Ace, I'm not going to tell people what to short or not, but definitely seems like it is overbought.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap it for today?
Nah, man. Everybody just keep an eye on those daily closes. Keep an eye on the DXY. Keep an eye on oil. This is going to play out, but have your alerts on because this could happen overnight. Could happen when you least expect it. It's still my belief.
Yep, the VIX is on its way back up a little bit. Don't fade the VIX, okay?
No, I agree.
All I got to say there. Fucking oil is under 70 a barrel. This is getting way out over their skis. Okay.
This is Bloomberg oil today. Everyone was like, oh no, it's going to 60. F all of you. This shit's going to shoot up. And when you least expect it, we're going into the summer months and people are going to be driving 100%. I believe that oil is going to continue going up. I think there's going to be a massive squeeze on oil. Again, I keep saying when you least expect it, but it's the truth. When you least expect it, you're going to see the price go up. If everyone's thinking the same thing, most likely it's not going to happen.
I cannot believe this red candle we're seeing down over the last few days on oil. Like, it's gone from 76 a barrel down to 68. Like, things are not as calm as they seem to be right now. I'm not an oil baron, but that just seems ridiculous. I know that Russia didn't live up to what they said, for this last shipment of oil, but shit's gonna get worse before it gets better over there. Yeah, we have some drone attacks and shit. Like, it's not gonna be good anytime soon. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for today. Appreciate everybody for being here. We'll be back tomorrow at normal time, 3 p.m. Eastern, talking about the latest data, seeing how the markets continue to respond after Powell talking today, ahead of the Apple earnings, ahead of Friday's job report, which doesn't really seem to even matter anymore. So who the hell cares? But appreciate everyone who watched. Thank you so much. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment. Ace, you're the best for always being here with us.
Always.
Share us out if you enjoy our content. We really, really appreciate that. We're trying to grow this channel. It's we're not moon boys, so we're not the sexiest ones out there, but we try to put out quality content. So appreciate everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.